Pound is pairing gains on Wednesday, but broadly speaking, we are still seeing it in a strong upward trend against the US dollar. It broke above 132 on Tuesday. This was aided by another significant decline in the US dollar. The US dollar index actually broke below 92.50, having tested this level for a number of weeks. So this was seen as a significant shift in the greenback, which ultimately contributed to the pound breaking through that 132 level. Now we are testing it from above, and it is the most immediate area of potential support here. But even if we do see a move back below here, I don't think this necessarily breaks the bullish trend which the pound has been on in recent weeks and even actually recent months. In terms of what's really driving this, it very much is a dollar denominated story right now. Declining US yields, declining US real yields, which ultimately accounts for deflation, the 10-year tips, which accounts for expected inflation. Now, these have been around the kind of minus 1% mark, so this just highlights just how accommodative an environment that we are currently seeing in the US. And as these have been declining, the dollar has been declining with them, and that's been giving a lift to a number of other currencies, including the pound, against the greenback. Now, in terms of how far this can go, we have now entered an interesting period as far as the pound-dollar pair is concerned. This kind of 132 through 136 region. 130 is obviously a major psychological level. 132 through 136 over the last 2 years or so, actually a little bit longer, but over the last 2 years or so has been fraught with difficulty. As far as these markets are concerned, we have run into severe resistance around the kind of 134 levels and again around the 136 levels. And if we're going above 136, and we're really kind of eyeing levels back to the kind of the kind of levels that we were seeing in the aftermath of the actual Brexit referendum. So these are very significant levels if we can break through them. Now, as far as momentum is concerned in this currency pair, we are starting to see a slight dip in momentum here. Now, the one thing I would offset that and say is the break below 92.50 in the dollar index is seemingly quite significant. So at least in the near term, that could continue to see the greenback soften, which would continue to see some upside in this pair. So while we've seen the momentum start to drop a little bit in this pair, I think we'll want to see some more indication that that is the case. I don't necessarily therefore view this as a turning point. If anything, we could see a short-term potential acceleration in terms of the moves which are starting to unfold once again. The other thing that's worth keeping an eye on today is the fact that this is a two-sided thing. The dollar is looking weak, but the pound is the other side of this. Now, obviously, the data has been a little bit soft. The upside here is that we have seen improvements in the outlook for a number of these data points. The Bank of England, of course, has revised lower its expectations, also revised up its expectations for growth this year. So it's forecasting a lower contraction than it previously was, although still quite a severe one at that. Unemployment is still, by the end of the year, going into the middle half of next year, expected to roughly double by current forecasts as well. So there's still plenty of worrying signs. And of course, the other thing that is almost forgotten about at times at this point is the Brexit negotiations. The UK is still set to leave the EU at the end of this year, currently with a no deal in place. Now, the negotiations are continuing this week. They are taking place throughout the course of this week. So there is likely to be more headlines, more sticking points. They are trying to engage on some of the more contentious issues like fishing rights and other issues along these lines as well. So we may see more headlines, which could potentially impact the pound as far as these Brexit negotiations are concerned. We're not going to expect any significant developments, though, for obvious reasons. There's still months to go, and we do see these often work towards the deadlines, but certainly one worth keeping an eye on. Ultimately, though, this pair continues to look like it's got some upsides, at least in the near to medium term, especially with the developments that we have seen in the greenback, which ultimately could offset the FTSE, which obviously has that inverse relationship with the pound currency. But as I say, currently this is still looking pretty good.